Wife cheated after 27 years of marriage. A few weeks ago, I noticed someone enter my house on the recently installed doorbell cam, but never saw them leave. The next day, the footage was deleted. So after going into detective mode and starting a 180, my soon-to-be ex-wife knew me too well and figured out that I was onto her. She figured I had seen some kind of evidence and figured it was likely the recently installed doorbell cam she erased. I was in the process of installing in-home cams and voice-activated recorders, but she actually ended up confessing and admitting to an ongoing and long-lasting, about 1 year, pretty much the whole time I was away helping my elderly parent most of the week, affair, and that I deserved better. She said she's going to be fair in our divorce and will sell our house and split the proceeds. She is likely even to end up paying me alimony for some period of time or a lump sum. We'll split most of the debt, but the house sale will likely just clear that and leave a little to start over. It's so disappointing, so anticlimactic, so unfair. I'll admit I had let the anger build within me and wanted to exact revenge somehow, but there really is not many to expose her to who would care. There's no one on the affair partner's side to expose to. He's single, well divorced, and to be honest, was more informed about the state of my marriage than I was, clearly. It's not even a close relationship they had. It's not even likely this was her first time, but I just let it go without pain shopping for more hurt. It comes at a very pivotal time for me as I am dealing with resolving my elder care issues and just don't have the energy or desire to fight for anything. She offered to try and fix things, but we both know there is too much pain and wrong with us already, and she has known how broken I still am over being cheated on before we got together over 25 years ago. Some scars never really heal. I'd recently started to realize that maybe my whole relationship was a rebound, but I'm a dedicated person and once I commit, I'm all in. I just did that too soon, I guess. Now, well, I don't even think people in relationships are worth it. I can't see trusting anyone ever again. So there it is. No confrontation, no revenge, no exposure, no reason anymore. Just two terrible, dispassionate lives torn apart, and now I have to find a way to rebuild myself without my pride and ego. Just another failure in a long list of them in my life. Life as I knew it is now over, and I just am moving on autopilot to handle things. I don't want to go home, but have to pack and get the house ready to put on the market. Then I have to find an apartment, etc. I don't even know where I want to live. It's all just so crappy. I wasted more than half of my life on someone. It's all just a void ahead of me, and the only reason I get out of bed is to care for my parent. I guess not having kids is the only blessing, since once divorce is done I won't have to be in contact with her, but that will take time. Every time I hear her voice, it just opens up the pain again. My pain shopping is looking back at all our pictures and the otherwise good times we'd had. I just don't understand why I'm so stuck in the past and mourning something I thought I was ready to leave anyway. I lay awake analyzing everything I did wrong, how I wasn't ever good enough for anyone, why I deserve to be treated like crap, how crap my life is, and why I'm always the one on the losing end. Now I'm old, broken, and undeserving of this crap life. No hopes and no dreams, just alone in my thoughts. More thoughts from later last night. She hasn't even called or texted me since I left. I did say not to, and meant it. She knew I did, I guess. But not one more sorry, not one are you okay? Is she just sitting home watching a show like it's just any other Tuesday? Or maybe not. F all, why do I even care? Sorry, insomnia and heartache are a terrible combo. Why do I even feel like this when I wanted to leave? Does she know I probably wouldn't have? Did she think I would just cave and come back? For what? Love? History? Certainly not for the sex. Is she just that over me? I guess her actions say so. Mine need to say who I am too. Who the F is that anymore? He's not who I thought he was, just last Friday. Well, I guess at least all of last year. That guy was a blind idiot. He was a chump. He may still be. He's definitely been a sucker way longer. He believed in something that wasn't real. Like living in a Marvel movie, without the cool crap happening. And in the end, not even really given a choice. That guy was just fired from the only job he ever really wanted. Replaced while still at his desk. He got to watch his replacement come in the door, and then before even getting to quit in spectacular fashion, just handed his things on the way out. At that guy too, he sucked. Sorry for the novel, but my life is a crap show right now. Update. My wife called me last night. She appreciated my apology and knew the things I had said were to try to hurt her. We didn't discuss too much other than her apologizing again and blah blah blah. I did tell her I would be coming home this weekend and that I needed her to not be there. It was kind of civil mostly, but I told her I don't care where she goes. I told her she can stay with her boyfriend since he's who she wanted anyway. She of course denied this and kept saying she wants me back and that we can work this out. To please give her one chance. That she'd never done anything like this and would do anything to make it up. I'll admit I wanted nothing more than to go back in time to any time other than the last year. That I would even go to the worst times in our lives instead of now. But I stayed strong this time and said I don't see any way we can be together now. That it was a year and I just can't imagine feeling the same for her. I only asked one question about it. I asked how many times. She was quiet for a long time, but I refused to say anything. She asked if I really want to know and she didn't want to hurt me more. I just said I need to know. That's when she crushed me so much more. She said it was only a few times in the beginning, but after about a month it was almost every day that I was away, and even some weekends when she had said she was at the gym for about 6 months. But in that last few months, it had been once or twice a week while I was away. I almost threw up. I muted the call so I could let some of that pain out. So she had sex with him more times in a year than we have in the past 10 to 15 years. Like hundreds of times. More than we maybe even had in the beginning of our relationship. I wanted to ask more questions, but I was too hurt and ashamed. I wanted to ask if he was bigger, better, and what they did. What did he do that I couldn't? That I just couldn't take anymore. I just said again, you should just go to him this weekend so I can be alone at home and go through and get some more of my important things. I don't even have a permanent place to take them. I've been awake and went and got a bottle of good scotch. Now I have to work and take care of my parent hungover. Update. So as I thought we had agreed, I'm back at the house to gather some things. I get here and thank goodness she's nowhere in sight. So I'm gathering some documents and I had forgot what I left last weekend. Then packing some clothes and other things. All good, going faster than I thought, wearing my AirPods and playing some good tunes to keep positive as possible. Going into the basement and packing up a few things up from there. It's hard as hell, but I'm kind of determined to keep moving before I get to down. As I'm in the basement, I hear faintly over the tunes the sound of water running in the pipes. It's going for a few before I noticed. I walk upstairs and hear the shower going upstairs. I'm like, what the actual F? I make myself a cup of coffee and decide it's better for me to go out to my car. At first I was going to drive away, but stupidly, I just sit there in the driveway. I'm like stunned as hell. I start writing a longish, nasty text, but don't want anything like that as evidence or whatever. So I decide I'm just going to sit there and wait for her to leave again, hopefully. My new neighbor is walking by and stops to introduce himself because by now I'm standing outside my car having a smoke. I don't tell him anything, but try to be cordial. As we're about to part ways, the garage door opens and she's standing behind her car and asks to speak to me. I actually have to stand through the introductions from this new neighbor and my wife. Of course, we don't discuss much, and I think even he can see the tension and leaves. We go inside and I'm still dumbstruck. I ask her, why are you here? She proceeds to tell me she can't check into the place she's staying until later today and was at the gym. That freaking gym. And she wanted to shower and grab some more things. She figured I wouldn't mind. She said that when she came in and didn't see me around, then heard me in the basement, that she could come and go and it wouldn't be a problem. I just stood there wondering who the F is this person in front of me. Luckily, after a very brief and awkward apology on her part for everything, then a request that maybe we shouldn't be so rash while things are raw. Maybe we can try more counseling. She knows we still love each other, blah, blah, blah. I just looked her in the eye and said, no, please leave. I have things to do and you agreed to stay away. I said this is what you caused and went back to the basement. I just sat here typing this, trying to control myself and my blood pressure. But I just heard the garage door open and close, so thankfully she's effing gone. Now I'm just a bit of a mess, wanting to get back to my state of busy and keep packing. But my bourbon collection is staring me in the face. I'll admit I already had one good belt earlier. I know if I have another this early today, will be even more of a bust. Give me strength. Figured posting my thoughts would keep my hands off another glass of my favorite Jefferson's. Update. Not sure if these links will work, but those are my previous posts. Otherwise, check my post history. Sorry, this is still going to be long. So here goes. Sunday after another sleepless night, filled with packing things and much anguish. All of it was so hard. The memories, pics, and items we had picked out together, our wedding album, and other things just brought out more of the emotions I had been trying to keep in check. But I had pushed through and kept getting to the things I knew were most important to me. Unfortunately, one item brought me the most pain. The sealed urn with all of our children's ashes. We had planned that as one or both of us passed, we would combine our ashes and have our remaining relatives scatter them together in the ocean near our favorite beach. Well, I guess that plan is off now. But here's the thing. I don't know if it's wrong that I want it with me. I mean, I know I have to discuss this with her eventually, but I really don't know how that will go. I don't know if we can have it opened and split the remains. That still feels wrong, like neither of us is getting them. If that is even possible, or even a thing. I will ask my attorney upon retaining, I guess. I didn't mention it to her since my confidence in her was below zero at that point. But here's the real reason for this update. Sunday evening, I'm about packed with things I am taking with me for now. I just wanted to have enough that if I could not tolerate coming back for a few weeks at least. Along with a few more important keepsakes, documents, etc. I knew she was supposed to return after 9 as we discussed, and didn't really want to be there. I had resisted the urges to dismantle all the electronics, reset the router, etc. out of spite. So I felt like the bigger person for once was actually coming out in me with the help of some supportive calls from a friend, some DMs here and comments, etc. Anyway, it's now about 7 and I am loading the last bits in my car. Well, guess what? No shocker here, I'm sure. But yep, she shows up. Comes in looking a bit shaken, but not nearly the look of death warmed over like I felt I had. She starts off saying how it looked like I was ready to leave again. If I really had to go so early, and could I at least talk to her? I was already frustrated that she was even there, and wanted to be stronger than I knew I was. I said I didn't want to be too late, and I had to get back in time for the weekend help with my parent to be relieved. That I only had a few minutes, but if there's something important she can tell me, and if needed, I could call her while driving. She then says she understood, but that she really needed me to know what was going on with her this weekend, and really wished we could talk without me being angry. She said she spent the weekend alone. Not sure I believe this, but considering all that had happened and what she's done to us, that she knew I couldn't forgive what she's done, but that she does and will always love me and be in love with me forever. That she knows I don't believe this now, but that she was so angry with herself for hurting me so bad and destroying the only man who ever loved her unconditionally and was always there for her. I was doing my best to just not shout, sob, hug her, or anything, and just give her the stoic look of indifference. I'll admit, I failed. My eyes watered up, but I struggled to not let the tears fall. Yeah, I failed at that too, but didn't really speak. I figured I'd just listen and hoped to still just leave after she said what she had to. I listened to her say many things and justifications, reasons why she thought she did this for so long, why she didn't stop herself, why even when she thought I knew she thought I just didn't or wouldn't care, how she had thought I must have been cheating for so many years that she felt even if I wasn't, I traded her for porn anyway, how I never seemed to want her, how we had just been roommates, how she still knew I was the only man she wanted to spend the rest of her life with, how she wanted to come to me so many times and confess, but that she knew I would never be able to accept it at her back if she told me what she did. At every point she kept saying she knew it was all on her and that it wasn't my fault, that she was going to get counseling, etc. to figure out why she did all this for so long, etc. That our life together had been destroyed because we had everything she wanted and that she had felt she could have lived the rest of our lives and never had sex again, that she had to accepted that I could be with other people if I want. All seemed to be standard cheater speak. But as I thought, she finally said her conversation Christmas before last, she got really angry that I was actually scared of sex with her for fear of getting her pregnant again, that we hadn't gotten pregnant before without IVF, and I was just using it as an excuse, that she felt I never really wanted her or a family, especially when I didn't want to adopt. She caught herself getting upset more every day after, and the only thing she felt we were missing in our life was sex and family and how I had kept it from her. That she was so angry because if that was true, then she knew I had always blamed her for our child losses and lied every time I said I never blamed her. That she felt I was disgusted by her for so long because she lost them and I could never let it go. That all those years she loved me enough for both of us. That when my parent got sicker and had been out of the hospital, she thought I was just using it as an excuse to be away from her. That all at once it had clicked in her head, and she knew everything she had feared was true. That she just wanted to be loved and that I didn't, and was just lying the whole time. That the so-called gym guy was never even in the picture or a possibility until all these things got to her. That she had never even thought of being unfaithful. That she wasn't even very emotional with him in the beginning and originally did it the first time out of spite. That after then, she had realized how much she missed sex, and though he had feelings for her, she kept telling him it was only about the sex. That she had no intention of leaving me. She said she never really talked about me to him, but that seemed like a lie now. but she had grown a connection eventually and let him in some more, telling him she hadn't felt like this in years. But it was nothing like what I need to send a letter of thanks to Dyson. I discovered my wife, 49 female, of 17 years, 18-month affair when I updated our fan filter on the app it uses. Here's some background. We've been married 17 years with no children of our own. She's been divorced once and had 2 daughters that I helped to raise, now 28 and 23, prior to our marriage. We've really only had minor bumps and issues, in my opinion. We've had an open door type of communication with each other, whether it be work issues or venting or sexual issues or just how we are feeling. Often we will just talk on the couch about life and philosophy in general. I felt that we had a great connection and a pretty heavy, fulfilling sex life. We are both in good shape and maintain a healthy lifestyle. I work in the medical field, and due to things being what they are, have been putting in a decent amount of overtime over the past 5 months. She works in a legal consultancy and has been working from home for the past 5 months, which has made things a bit distant, but on our days off, we are tight. Changed the filter on the Dyson fan in our bedroom last night. Asked my wife if I could use her phone to update the app in order to reset the change filter alert. Mine was on the charger next to the front door. I noticed she had put on a pattern unlock and kind of wanted to ask her what that was about. As I was finding the app on her phone, a notification for Snapchat popped up. My stomach dropped immediately as I read the small tag. "I'll bring the special toy," it said. My brain understood the words, but my mind just stopped functioning. She asked what was the matter after, I guess, several minutes of me just sitting and staring at the bedroom fan. My wife has an obligatory quarterly out-of-town meeting that puts her 2 states away for 5 days every business quarter. I knew it was about this coming trip Monday. I've perused Reddit for years anonymously. I've read hundreds of stories that began like this, and never once have I thought of being me that would sit on my bedroom floor and be in such a cold, dumbfounded state. I recovered and said, "Oh, just getting info about the IPN router. That's how the fan communicates to the app. I have a Chromebook that she logged into Facebook yesterday. I took a week's vacation short notice. My supervisor's a cool chick, and once I laid it out what I may have discovered and have to do, I'm going to need the time off." I've been up all night reading her chats. She left to go to the office just now, and I made sure the Google location history was on and find my phone was active. I'm so suspicious of everything she does now, I can't look at myself in the mirror. She doesn't know I saw the message notification. I logged on to the messaging system that Verizon uses and have signed in under her number and my name. There are at least 15,000 that date back to February of last year. Messages, memes, flirty pics, and some X-rated ones too. She stopped texting him this way about 3 months ago. Didn't stop texting him, but stopped using the message app through Verizon. I'm guessing they switched to the Snapchat because it's discreet. I'm not on any social media in any way, shape, or form. I am clueless. I just figured out that you can't log into Snapchat through Facebook. But it just takes an email and password. And she has used this Chromebook to do that. Hell, she used it just 3 nights ago lying in bed next to me rubbing my back while I went to sleep. She messaged him and sexted him lying next to me. It's a younger man from work. He is married and has 3 young children. He and his wife have Facebook. I've met him twice. Shook his hand. I'm at a complete loss again and have paced wandered my house that I custom built for her for hours. I almost can't feel anything. What little that I am processing is just white hot rage. I log on Snapchat and there it all was. I have called my best friend who has been divorced 3 times. Don't get me started on his partner picker. He recommended a vicious lawyer. I plan on recording, saving everything. There's pics of them. I'm sure her phone or his has video. I desperately want this to be a bad dream. She said terrible things about me. She's told him my insecurities. She's told him I love you. They have made no long-term plans, so this feels like a purely sexual relationship. It almost makes it better, but also makes it so much worse. Like, she's literally throwing away our life for this. She knows cheating is an absolute deal breaker for me. Our usual routine on the day she leaves for her meetings is I take her to the airport and drop her off with a long goodbye. I can't even think about what I have to do now. My friend says print out the entire thing and see if I can recover things from Snapchat. From what I understand, I can't, unless I have her phone. My plan is to see the lawyer today. I'm paying a ridiculous amount to jump in her appointment line. Get the ball rolling and hopefully have a plan of action from her. I really want to book a flight and follow my wife to the hotel she's staying at and catch her in the act. I have access to her hotel booking options and have put myself as a contact person. so I can get a room key without alerting her. I think I'm just going to log into the messaging apps when I get into town and watch it happen in real time. If I could get the papers ready in time, I'd hand them to her. Instead, I'm just going to hand her the printouts. It's a 600-page PDF. His wife accepted my friend request. I'm debating sending everything now. I'm seething. I just don't want to lose any advantage. I'm going to fly there Monday afternoon, log in, and see what they've talked about. Get a room key to my wife's room and drop off the package in a room with my wedding ring. I'm going to sit in the bar and watch my phone blow up. I'm going to call the AP and tell him to meet me in the lobby or bar and to bring my wife down. Then tell him that a similar package has been sent certified mail to his home addressed to his wife, as well as a Facebook message that I plan on hitting send on as I tell him. It feels petty and weak. I want to rage and scream, but I'm helpless. This morning, all I could do was give her a peck on the cheek goodbye. I really can't stand to look her in the eye. I somehow have to get through the weekend. I guess I'm asking, is my spiteful, hate-fueled plan worth it? I just want to inflict pain at this point. I want to hurt her emotionally. I feel eviscerated, emasculated. I will not entertain an apology. This is the one act that is unforgivable. It takes so many steps to cheat on someone. They all can be stopped until the sin is complete. Then it is done. Should I just confront her tonight or catch her? I don't think I'll update. I'm truly thinking about never using social media again and only being with a partner that has a similar outlook moving forward. ETA, I found the special toy. Keep in mind we have a chest full of adult fun devices. It was already in her carry-on. It's one of those remote control vibrators, the ones that can be controlled by an app. It looks expensive. I meet with the lawyer in 90 minutes. Update number 1. I met with a lawyer. She was actually kind, and I dare say compassionate with me. She told me point blank that her job was to represent me in this fight for my future. And my job in all this was to tell her the complete truth and not make her job harder. I went to Kinko's and printed the file out. Cost $534 for color because I wanted to have the pictures pop. Shout out to Chris at Kinko's for not making a scene when the nudes started coming out. He asked what it was all about, so I told him. He was taken aback, but shook my hand and said sorry. I went home and crashed for about 3 hours, and soon-to-be ex-wife came home around 19:30, usual time. Lawyer said to forget any Hollywood confrontation in a hotel bar, that it would look pretty crazy and not becoming at all. So I'm sorry to all those people that wanted to hide drama. She's right, ultimately. There's 2 routes to take with divorce, contested or not contested. She said I would have to notify my soon-to-be ex-wife that I have retained counsel, and in order to proceed, my soon-to-be ex-wife would have to either contest the divorce or we would go through mediation and file from there. So, she got home about 2 hours ago. I asked her if there was anything going on that she wanted to talk about. She said nothing other than the election. She then asked what was bothering me. I wanted to cry, but truthfully, I was cried out. I said I was curious as to why she had a remote control vibrator in her luggage. The look on her face was actually more telling than anything I've ever seen. She looked panicked, pale. She began to breathe faster, sweat. I asked why she would have something like that. Who had the code and the app to it? She stammered, and the tears began. As I pulled out my 3 file folders worth of text exchanges, I asked if the AP's wife would have it. She cried and pleaded that she could explain. I said she had 5 minutes to do it. Of course she couldn't. I told her that my attorney told me to tell her. I also told her to leave. She screamed it was her house too. I calmly told her that may be, but I would be notifying everyone about her affair and betrayal. That even the girls will know. Or she can leave now and find living arrangements for the time being. Hell, she'll be at her work conference for a week. She was speechless. I calmly pulled up Facebook and showed her the AP's wife. I said, do you want me to tell her, or are you going to do it right now? Tears and moaning and pleading with, I love you, and it wasn't supposed to go this far. Then my favorite, you can't do this. I said, well, it looks like I'm doing it, as I sent the AP's wife a message with the file of their escapades on it. I prefaced it with apologies and a brief explanation. I haven't heard back from her. I leafed through the stacks of paper and started reading random excerpts out loud to my soon-to-be ex-wife. I just wish we could spend the day attached to each other, just you inside of me. You feel so much more intense than any other woman I've ever been with. She is still sobbing and asked to talk about us. She says our marriage can withstand her mistake. I told her I would never forgive her, her word, and that she threw away the last 17 years. I'm still entertaining the whole tell HR thing, and I'm going to tell everyone about her decision to end our marriage by cheating. Thank you to everyone who responded. I feel bad I couldn't respond to all the PMs and responses. I have a therapy appointment scheduled Tuesday. I kind of feel extremely elated. I'm shaking and incredibly low right now. I kind of want to die. The house is pretty quiet except for her crying and moaning. I told her not to come back after her trip. I'm currently sending friend requests and trying to get everyone on my page. I'm just going to send it out to everyone that way. I'm going to wait until the morning to call the girls. I raised them from when they were 11 and 6. They are women now, 28 and 23. I don't know what to tell them or how to handle them. Update 2. To those that kept saying, that's not how Snapchat works. Yes, you're correct. She had that running in the background. It was WhatsApp. I don't really give it. I saw it. I again need to thank Dyson for their app and the kick-ass fan I got from my brother-in-law for Christmas. Here it goes. I'm going to give a deeper background on our situation to help with some perspective on why I feel the way I do. My original post was pretty much a stream of consciousness and felt as disjointed as I did then. I went to college in Las Vegas in the mid-90s. I graduated in 99. I had a blast there. I got around. It was during this formative time I decided to never marry. It is an outdated concept that essentially removes your agency, and I definitely did not want children. When I graduated with my degree in nursing, I quickly excelled in cardiovascular intensive care. I moved home to Texas in 2001 and pursued my master's degree to be an advanced practice RN nurse practitioner with a specialization in CV surgery. While I was achieving this, I decided to pursue medical school and shifted coursework to fill in what I needed to apply. It was then that I met my soon-to-be ex-wife. She was a short, chubby, I believe the kids today would call this thick, red-headed firecracker. We met in a code. It was intense, both the attraction and the dating. We were saying I love you within 3 months. She was a mother of 2. Remember, I wanted to be child-free. That had been divorced for about 2 years. She was just getting out of an on-again, off-again relationship when we met. We dated for about 2 years, and she slowly introduced her daughters to me, 11 and 6. She sat me down one night and gave me a pretty heartfelt but pragmatic talk about us, or where we were at the time, and what she needed expected from me or any other partner. Essentially, she said it was time to either get married or move on. I was still pretty anti-marriage, and she respected that. She was telling me this to give me a chance to think about us and what the future looked like. She had a pretty good point in that we were living together 8 months and even had each other as persons to notify in an emergency. She joked that all it was missing was having each other on our insurance. It was a good, honest talk, and we agreed that we would continue on for a bit more, but I would ultimately have to make the decision. 2 weeks later, I had an acceptance letter to a medical school about 2 hours away. I was ecstatic and crushed at the same time. I had just had my 26th birthday and was about to accomplish a huge life goal. Then I realized I'd never see her or the girls. My self-doubt got the better of me. Being a medical student, then resident, with a fellowship was going to be a roughly 7-year process. All the while, I could not make the money or support the lifestyle we had grown accustomed to. I thought about the prospect of at least 7 years of loans, debt, and work, and losing her. So I declined and switched back to a master's in nursing administration. We got married in July of 2003. It was an intimate and personal ceremony with just immediate family and friends. While my parents adore the girls, rightly so, they have always been standoffish with soon-to-be ex-wife. On Monday, when I told my parents what was happening and that there was a real possibility the girls could stop being as prevalent in their life as they have been, they told me that they still felt that soon-to-be ex-wife was damaged goods being married prior to and forcing me to compromise. That really hit home, and to a certain extent, they are correct. After I graduated, I didn't want to be a manager or director. I'm a hands-on guy that likes taking care of patients. The hospital I was at offered a certification in ECMO and a perfusionist credential. It was a highly competitive application, but I got in. For the past 11 years, I have been doing ECMO and all things related. I have had a blast, and it has been challenging as well as heartbreaking at times. My soon-to-be ex-wife decided about 5 years ago that being an RN on the floor had run its course, and she wanted a more 9-to-5 job that did not involve patients or drama. She got on through a friend at a multi-state legal consultancy that specializes in medical legal suits. She abstracts data from patients' charts and presents it in the manner requested. So that's the setup. On Saturday morning, D-Day +2, I only slept a few hours. I had dark, disturbing thoughts regarding my future and life. Still do. Don't judge me. You wanted nuclear revenge. If you like cheating revenge stories from Reddit, you found the best place for your vengeful needs. When a wife cheats on her loyal husband, you might automatically view her with contempt or disdain. But in this story, your judgment will be tested. Secondly, a wife cheats on her husband with 15 people, followed by a monkey branching cheater who grabs the wrong branch with devastating consequences. Lastly, an affair between a cheating wife and her married lover gets exposed professionally. Before we start, change the like button's email signature by adding a Rickrolled link to it. Naturally, viewer discretion is advised. These revenge stories might be disturbing to cheaters. You might hate me after my story, but don't forget, you came for a nuclear revenge story. I'm a 36-year-old male as of now. The characters have been a bit altered by their names. Rebecca is my 34-year-old ex-wife. So Rebecca and I were what you call college sweethearts. We survived college and what you can call the hardships of young college life. Got married in our early 20s. I was 25, she was 23. Ever since we got married, things were rocky from the start. Not from the start immediately, but situation-wise. I was in medical while she was an accounting major. There were things that was okay with me, but was not with her. Despite being married, she acted like she was a free birdie. I have to admit, I didn't saw it as a bad thing back then. So we had her 2016, and she joins a company as an accountant. I was happy because hey, it paid well, and the company owner was James, a college buddy of mine. Time goes by and instead of us growing closer, there was more tension building up. Slowly she started to complain about things that were in place. She didn't like where we lived, had problems with everything I did, stopped liking the food she used to be crazy about. I'm a great cook and she used to love my meals. Our fights intensified by the margin where she would call me names, that I'm good for nothing, that she earned more than me. This by itself could be classified as normal in most relationships, as most people have ups and downs. But if it stopped here, I wouldn't be sharing my story. It all changed when a drastic turn came up, when I got the word of our mutual friends, that Rebecca and James were hanging out with some of them. I found this strange. Why would she go and hang out with him? Why would they hang out together with some of our mutual friends, without me knowing? I confronted both of them, to which they both said it was just a sudden plan and it didn't include me, because I was out working. Coincidentally, it happened on the same day I was out of the city. They might have planned it beforehand, which I'm not sure of, so I think whatever. Next year, enter 2017, the year my marriage blew up. I was sure there was something fishy going on. For the ones who have a relationship, you know it's a red flag when your sexy time life just dies off completely. I was becoming increasingly paranoid and whenever I tried to address things, I was turned down. I'm not a saint. I started constantly yelling at her to tell me what was going on, because there was something off. Your favorite person in your life rarely talks or does stuff with you, and they claim it's nothing. Does this sound okay? It can't be normal. It should have been our best year, because we both paid off our student loans. We were making our peak financially and it should have been great for us. My friends and I decided to open up a medical shop that provided medicine. Nothing too big, but as a side venture. One of the friends was Saladin. He proposed that we celebrated at a pub. When we go there, I notice a girl that looks exactly like Rebecca. It wasn't too alarming, but enough to catch my attention. The woman was dancing with another man and it was quite dark. I get a closer look, lo and behold. It's Rebecca and James, dancing hand in hand. I could say I wasn't bothered much, because they're friends and colleagues, right? I'm there with my colleagues, she's there with hers. But of course it was bothering me. So I decided to send her a text, asking where she was. She's usually on her way home at this time. She told me she was already at home. Now that was a red flag. A big red flag, like it's a communist parade. I told her to stop lying because she wasn't. I could clearly see her getting paranoid and she texted that she was on her way home. She left the pub afterwards. I went home shortly after. On the way back home, I knew I wanted to ask her directly about James, so when I got home, I did. I asked her face to face about James. The look she gave me was as if she saw a ghost, because she wasn't expecting that question. That look told me something was definitely up. If you ask your significant other about a friend, they should act normally. The way she acted was far away from normal. She mumbled and played it off, but as I heard her speak I knew for sure already. That night, I decided to snoop in her phone. The curiosity was killing me. We knew each other's passwords, but she changed hers, so I couldn't get in. I got it the next day while snooping. Don't judge me. I really needed to see it. There it was, walls and walls of texts. Countless questionable pictures, degrading comments, even calling him daddy. My wife and I made a vow to each other that if there was ever anything we needed to explore, we would be transparent to each other. She broke that vow too. She confided in him about how much of a thrill she felt that night at the pub. I went through everything. What hurt the most was she herself told me if one of us ever got bored in the relationship or needed to spice things up, we will let each other know. She destroyed everything. I couldn't look at her the way I used to anymore. I went to bed and just cried deep into the night. I want to tell you that I secretly came up with a master plan to ruin her, but I didn't. I was too angry and emotional. The next morning, I stupidly confronted her without any evidence in my hand. She yelled at me and stormed out after telling me I was abusive and insane. That afternoon, her friends created a messenger group where everyone ganged up to troll me. She apparently told all our friends that I was abusive. When she came home that night, she told me she was in love with James and wants a divorce. I asked her to talk it out first, but it turned into her berating me. I yelled at her, and she didn't think twice to call the cops. When they arrived, I was asked to spend the night elsewhere. I went to my sister's, and when I returned the next morning, James' car was there. He spent the night here. You're kidding me? It was clear. There was nothing more that had to be explained. He was doing it on purpose. Hell, she was doing it on purpose. I went to see a lawyer. As we did not have a prenup, she already filed a complaint about me being abusive. It didn't look good for me. Not once did she try to apologize. Not once did she try to make amends. Our country law doesn't count infidelity as a fault. So even with that, she's entitled to half of my everything. But her complaint can sew me up. Few days after that, I'm lucky to be able to stay at my sister's house for the time being. I tried contacting Rebecca, but she won't reply to me. Until she hit me up, telling me we should get divorced. That's it. 12 years of relationship, 4 years of marriage, and she ends it with a text. On top of that, I was convinced that James was taking my place. First time I saw her after that, she handed me the divorce papers. Everyone from our friend circle was convinced that I was a freaking abuser, and James was her savior. She did the right thing to cheat on me. We were officially divorced during the start of 2018. She was already dating James openly during our divorce, as he was her life and she was doing way better without me. I lost my job, my house, my reputation, and some of our mutual friends, all because of her affair and lies. I had to change the city to move someplace else to restart again. Saladin helped me massively in that fresh start. He got me a decent paying job that was nowhere like my previous one, but it was better than other options. We became closer buddies while I was working to earn back what I had. Dating life was over for me. I just couldn't trust anyone. It was a complete no communication between me and Rebecca. Last I heard was she moved in with James. They were doing great. Skip forward some time. End of 2020, my life was actually blowing up. The virus that hit the world forced us to work tirelessly with sore backs, but filled our pockets. Our pharmacy venture turned huge, so I was able to make good money. I met a friend of mine from whom I got a tip that James and Rebecca were done. Totally unexpected to hear that her hero, James, cheated on her and left her stranded. He left her alone with a child that was surely his. Even worse, he was absent since the baby was born, and didn't even sign the birth certificate to claim his child. So Rebecca is raising that child as a single parent. I heard she tried dating after James left, but she claims she's still not over James, or me. The audacity of this woman. Part of me was happy with the aftermath. But gosh, I have to admit, I really missed to have her around. So the next part might make you cringe. But I sent her an email, asking how she was doing. She wasn't expecting to hear from me. We exchanged mails and reconnected. Our first meet was in 2021, after several years. When I saw her, it came as a shock. She looked like shit. She gained weight, lost the charm she had about her, and looked utterly exhausted all the time. She told me about James and reopened the earlier wounds of her cheating and lies. I got a bit of closure, which made me feel a bit better, I guess. She said she was really sorry. She wasn't thinking straight about what she was doing to me. James poisoned her mind against me. Frankly, just her look alone, made my blood boil and triggered me into a mood for vengeance. It was obvious that karma got to her already, and the hardship of life beat her down into the position she was in. It should have been enough. But remember the heads up at the start? Yes, even after all she did, I'm an asshole too. You can judge me, but I'm not here for that. I felt the need to take my revenge, and so I did. I wasn't done with her. I told her I would forgive her if she comes clean to everyone and clears my name. She did that, losing a lot of friends. My name was clean and she took the hit, but she deserved it because it's the truth. She wanted us to date again. Rekindle what we once had. In other words, force me to raise Prick James' child. I told her I'm interested into starting over, but I could only agree if we would take it seriously. So we would need to start dating again and think about marriage first. Only then would I legally adopt her child. Seeing the little guy is adorable though, and I had taken a liking to him. Here is the ugly truth. I was already seeing someone. Pretty safe to say, I was cheating on that woman with Rebecca. She was a client of mine from a different country. We were in a long-distance relationship. So we were dating, but not totally exclusive, if that makes sense. Her name is Lisa. Lisa was Saladin's cousin. I already told her about what happened beforehand. She was against my revenge idea, uncomfortable with helping me with my intense request. But I managed to convince her to help me. She understood that I needed to go through it. Rebecca and I were living in different cities, so I never moved in with her. But I played it well, by saying I need to travel a lot for business. So I was only getting Rebecca's hopes up, to crush her like she crushed me. The ugly thing is, we were actually being intimate, but we used protection. Rebecca truly felt she found love again. I pushed for her to go to therapy, to get her to deal with her issues. Everyone was commenting how she was becoming better and way more happy now she's with me. She would praise her luck, always followed by apologies aimed towards me. She would start doing things for me that she did during the times when we were married and in bliss. Trust me when I say, I had a lot of emotions attached to this woman. I reconsidered my revenge, and had doubts about breaking her heart like I fantasized about. It would be bad, traumatizing for life kind of bad. But then I recall what she did to me when we were married. When we had made vows, that she broke. James is an asshole, but she chose to betray me. She didn't reconsider about breaking my heart. So why should I think of hers? So I chose to continue. Her birthday was coming up last year October, lockdown was eased up and my someone, Lisa, was in my city. For the birthday gift, I invited Rebecca for ring shopping. She picked out her favorite ring and I got it wrapped. She was ecstatically happy. That night, she came up to me crying, repeating how sorry she was hurting me the way she did. She looked genuinely remorseful, but I had no feelings for her, except indifference. On Rebecca's birthday, I drove her to our favorite spot. The same spot where we married the first time. It's a beautiful place surrounded by nature,